All right. Well, here we are. This is the return episode of the Mark and Mike show. It's been a while. Probably too long, and I know all the fans, they're pretty disappointed. So, we thought we got to get it going again, give the people what they want. So here we are. We're back. Um, Remote meeting, and yeah, we're excited to be back. Mike, any words on being back?
It's been real, folks, and I'm so grateful that there's still ways to reach our fan base out there, even with all the social distancing, because we can be together and have this heart to heart, even through the wires, the screens, the audio. So yeah, thank you all for coming back, and sorry we kept you in suspense, but here we
Yeah, so honestly, we took a little break. We were pretty busy with school and whatnot. So, but we're happy to be back. And like Mike said, there's no replacement for that face-to-face interaction, even if it is over Zoom. There's nothing better than that. So, I know a lot of people out there probably social distancing. It's wearing on you. You can't be as social as you want to. So, we're just come
social
spend an
distancing
hour.
is just an oxymoron. It's such a contradiction, but I mean, we've dealt with it this long, and I know a lot of people are saying we're all in this together, and everyone's fighting their own little battle with it. But tonight we just want to kind of lighten the mood. Just come into your homes and bring you a little bit of I don't want to say normalcy, because I don't know if what we talk about is very normal. I
That
think
might be true.
it's abnormal, but you know, just give you something to think about, something to laugh about, maybe.
Yeah, take your mind off the what's going on out there and just spend some time. That's what the show's about. So without further
Spending
ado,
time,
Mike
not
is going
wasting
to
time.
introduce. That's it. So Mike's going to introduce our first segment, and I'm pretty excited about this. So here we go.
Oh yeah, no, y'all are gonna love this because we haven't done a movie review in a while, and tonight's topic is movies that were marketed for children, but could have very easily been horror films if they tried a little harder, or changed a few scenes. But yeah,
And even the way they are,
even the way they are, because some of them are pretty downright creepy. I know I've gone back and watched several movies myself and been like, wow, I can't believe I'm not traumatized because I watched this. Maybe I am traumatized and I just don't know it. But
just part of you now.
yeah, it's just part of my brain, and I'm going to have to live with it. So yeah, the first movie we're going to talk about is one that it was produced by the same people who made The Polar Express, actually.
Great film.
Yeah, and I don't know if I mentioned this in our discussion, Mark, but this one's called Monster House.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah, do you remember
I
Monster
forgot about
House?
that movie. Yeah, I
Yeah.
do. Yep.
Okay, yeah, so, and surprisingly, like I said, it was made by the same people who made Polar Express. Very different content in Monster House and Polar Express, gotta say. Yeah, so if you haven't seen Monster House, it's about this house. I guess it starts with this old lady and this old guy. So long story short, the old lady dies, and um, her spirit becomes a part of this house. And the old guy still lives there, but he lives there to warn people away from the house. But he just seems like this crotchety old man on the outside. So like people like step on his lawn and he'll like yell at them to like get off my lawn, like stay away. He's trying to protect everyone. So these kids across the street, they're like spying on this old guy because they think something's up with this house, right? And the house ends up eating a few people. It almost eats one of the main characters, one of the girls, eats like a puppy. So it's really quite scary. And
Highly disturbing film.
oh yeah, for sure. It gave me the creeps. I
No doubt.
watched it. I think the thing that kept me from being too scared of the movie was the poor animation, because
True.
Polar Express, the animation was on point. I don't think I tried as hard with this one, because gotta say there was definitely some issues there.
Yeah, it was bad. I think I saw that movie. It might have been in theaters, or it was. We might have gone to like a drive-in or something. So it's like, oh, this is gonna be so fun. We're gonna go to a drive-in, and then that's the movie that's playing, of course, you know. And it's like, at a drive-in, you don't have a lot of options. So we're
Nope.
stuck watching this movie, and it's like, I mean, it's weird, it's bad. Like, just even in the beginning, before they even interacted the house at all, it's like there's just some weird vibes, and I never liked that movie. It's weird. And then doesn't the house like chase after them at the end or something? Like, I don't even remember.
So the only way they end up getting trapped inside the house, and
Yeah, yeah.
the only way to like release the spirit of the like woman who's possessing the house is to blow it up, basically. So
Oh yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
this like basically haunted house with some water guns, and their goal is to find the furnace and squirt it with water so the house blows up. um and I think they succeed. Maybe the house does chase them to like a construction site or something.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. It was
Okay.
weird. I think like they walked away in the end, but they were just like probably, messed up for the rest of their lives.
I would be so messed up.
The
Can
parents
you
not gonna believe
imagine?
you. Like,
I wonder how many kids, like, after going back to their houses after seeing that in theaters, were like, I'm not going in. Like, this is the end. Like, I can't go back in there.
I'm out. Yeah, I would be. I remember being highly disturbed by the film, undoubtedly. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a bad one. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on. This is actually one that I've seen resurface in several memes lately. Um,
Okay.
and I'm not sure if you'll agree with my categorizing it as potential horror quality, but the remake of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, so creepy, so creepy. Um, oh, Mark, what are your thoughts?
I mean, here's the deal. All right. So first of all, what's the whole deal? Like, why is Willy Wonka such an interesting character? He has this like he has all these flashbacks that kind of just don't really make sense. And I guess it helps a little bit to understand him, but it's like he's still really he's really out there. But the problem for me, and the reason why I wasn't creeped out by the film, is because it takes place in a candy factory.
Mhm.
So it's like all the kids, as they like drop off one by one, it's like not that creepy because it's like, oh, that kid just, jumped in a chocolate river or whatever. And it's like, the girl, I don't know, she chews the
Right.
gum, and I don't know. It wasn't like necessarily creepy. It was weird. All the kids are like dropping off one by one, and you got this suspect character leading them. But
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought it was weird. Well, the thing that got me was the scene in the candy room, right? Where you've got like the Willy Wonka, and it's Johnny Depp, but he's
right,
like pasty gray kind of color and
yeah,
emaciated, and um, you can tell something's off. But he's talking about like everything in this room is eatable. Even I'm eatable. But that, my dear children, is called cannibalism and is in fact frowned upon in most societies. And there's just a moment where he's staring at one of the kid's parents and he's just like kind of freaked out. And then he just gives like a little laugh. It's just, I don't know. It gives me the bad vibes.
There are definitely some awkward. I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of really awkward little
I
moments
agree
in
with you
that
about the
movie.
flashbacks. They were disturbing, and like as a kid, I was always kind of creeped out by them because I was like, look at this poor kid. He's not allowed to have candy.
Yeah, like his dad just like moves the house, like I don't know.
How
It
does
just
that happen?
it's just strange. It's like I don't know. It's weird. Although highlight of that movie is the grandparents, 100%. The fact that they don't get out of the bed at all.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like all four of them just right in the same bed, and that's living life right there. Yeah, I mean they're eating like cabbage soup every day, but dude, you got it made. You're just chilling right there.
Right. Okay, so next movie. I actually haven't seen all of this one, but I've seen parts of it. Um, Nightmare Before Christmas. What do you think?
Big thumbs down. Big thumbs down.
Mm.
That okay. All right. First of all, Nightmare Before Christmas is probably one of the creepiest movies I've ever seen. Um, I don't know why it exists or what audience it was targeted for. If you're a child, it's
If you're a
horrifying.
child, I'd be terrified.
If you're an adult, it's not
Why are you
really like
watching it?
it's just not like it's not a comedy. It's like it's an animated film, but it's like it's weird. Basically, the storyline, um, the people of Halloween Town are a little upset because they only get to celebrate like Halloween, the one day or whatever. Um, and I don't exactly remember the full story, but basically they're upset at Santa because they're only getting to celebrate once, and Christmas is like a little bit bigger holiday. So they kidnap Santa and torture him in an attempt to take over Christmas, basically. And then
Mm.
they distribute, instead of toys, they distribute like scary things that kids don't want. And eventually, I think the
Is
main
there?
character he comes around in the end and kind of realizes like that was a bad
Oh, maybe
idea.
we shouldn't
But
capture people and torture them.
yeah, it just overall, it's weird. It's really strange. It's not, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't like it. I haven't seen it in a long time. Maybe I'd appreciate it more now, but I don't
Mhm.
see that happening.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, it's bad. It's bad. It's really bad, actually. It's like, and
Yeah.
the whole movie is like very dark. I don't know. It's weird. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Thumbs down. Big thumbs down.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we can all agree on that one. Yeah, just not something you want to show your kids. This last one,
Yeah, no.
yeah, this last one though has always interested me, and I read the book, um, but I really think um, I think we need like a third party to kind of review this one for us, because I actually liked this movie. I really enjoyed this movie, but we have a special guest here with us, and I want to know your thoughts on the movie Coraline, Ashlyn.
Yeah,
Welcome to the show, by the
thank
way.
you. Thanks for having me. Coraline holds a unique place in my heart. Um, it was traumatizing as a kid. I'm not gonna lie. Um,
Could
it
you
was
give us a quick synopsis of the plot line there?
yeah, sure. So there's this little girl and her family. They move into this really creepy house in the middle of nowhere. Um, and she's not really happy with her life. And so she sort of finds her way into this alternate universe where everything seems all perfect, but she pretty much has to sell her soul, and that's not really appealing to her. So um, I won't spoil the ending, but she has to choose between the two worlds. Probably the most horrifying aspect of the film, though, is that in this alternate universe, you have to sew buttons instead of eyes, which is terrifying. And so as a kid, I watched this movie, and I constantly had to look at my parents when they would, turn their back, and I'd have to look at their eyes and make sure they weren't buttons. So it was scary for me. It was a scary time.
Very traumatic.
I would have dreamed about it. So.
Wow, that actually is terrifying.
Yeah, that'll do it. Here's the thing, though. We watched this movie. I watched this movie not too long ago, and I'm gonna be honest. As an adult, I found the film not bad. I enjoyed the film. It did have a little bit of creepy aspect, but being a children's film, it wasn't like to the level of horror movie, which personally I appreciated. I don't really want to be watching a movie where it's like I'm tense watching it. I didn't feel that way with this film. But here's the deal. As a child, I can imagine it would be rather creepy considering her house had this trap door, whatever it was, to this alternate universe. It's a little creepy, and it makes you feel uncomfortable about being in your own house.
Yeah.
It goes back to the Monster House thing a little bit.
A little bit.
I'm over it now, but the movie is actually kind of deep. It's pretty good, honestly, but it's not really for children.
Yeah, no. I don't know. Mike, what are your thoughts? We watched it not that long ago. What did you think about it?
Yeah, see, I thought it was you brought up a good point about the alternate universe seeming all perfect and stuff, because the way she gets into this alternate universe is some like special trapdoor in her new house, and it's something, like if you're a kid and you're bored and you don't like what's going on around you, it'd be really cool to check out a new place, like explore a little, right? So I don't know, I thought it was really cool because it can kind of show how you might want to escape from reality to avoid what's in front of you. Maybe that's reading too far into it, but I think what's impressive about it is that it's not like a normal animated film, it's a stop motion film. So they had to make all the characters move a tiny little bit and then take a picture and then move a little bit, take a picture. I just thought that was impressive. It doesn't work for all movies because sometimes
Right.
I find it really creepy, like the claymation aspect. I don't. But I thought it worked, especially with it's got that little bit of creepiness, like we talked about. I thought it worked with what they were trying to go for.
Do you think that the depth of the movie accurately portrayed the depth of the book?
Oh, it's been a while since I read the book, but I think it did pretty well. The only thing was in the movie, Ashlin, you were right. It was more like you have to basically give your soul to this alternate mother in this universe. In the book, it talks about that. I'm pretty sure in the movie, instead of them giving up their soul, it was like their eyes that they gave up. And in the end, Coraline, the main character, she has to go find their eyes of other children who have been captured in this world. And so the only big difference I think was that in the book she had to find their whatever she was finding, it was their actual souls as opposed to their eye. So
right.
And it makes sense because you have two eyes, and she only found one for each kid that was lost in there. So
yeah, I think that's a challenge, especially with children's books, is or children's films, is portraying something a little bit deeper, but having it come across as not such a foreign concept. So I personally, I thought that movie was good. definitely had a little bit of a creepy factor, but I think that added to it, and it kind of makes you realize that your the life you have is special, and you can't trade it out for anything else. Compare that to a monster house, which has zero deeper meaning and serves to only disturb you deeply to your core as a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
You know. At
Okay,
least
the thing that bothered me was they killed the house. I'm pretty sure with water guns. I think
lame.
that's how
It's
they
like
did it.
just weird. Just whoever thought of that movie, just that had to have flopped. Like, there's no way that
Yeah.
movie made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, it was just so bad on so many levels.
Ashlyn, do you have any final thoughts on the movies we talked about so far?
Yes, I have extremely strong opinions on Willy Wonka. I think that is one of the scariest films ever created. And I've actually seen, horror films that are created for adults, but nothing compares to Willy Wonka.
Okay.
No, the fact that the kid gets sucked up by like this vacuum thing from a chocolate vat. The problem is he's a murderer, but you don't look at him and think this man is a murderer. But his intent is to slowly kill off these children. It's horrifying.
Yeah, but here's the problem with that. The kids all walk out of the factory at the end, so it's hard for
I
me
think
to.
they had to put that in there.
Was that his plan?
But here's the deal. Regardless of if they're trying to portray him as a murderer, and I haven't read the book, so I don't know. Maybe they are.
I
Maybe
don't think
that
anyone's
is.
read the book.
I haven't.
Right. So it's like the kids, they walk out of the factory at the end. So it's like it's hard for me to believe that this guy is trying to, pick them off one by one. Plus, it's like you see how like strange of a life he had based on those flashbacks. Without the flashbacks, yes, he's a complete creep. But the flashbacks, I don't know. I think that it adds a little bit of character development to him to see why he ended up the way he did. Sort of a
Counterpoint with the he didn't know what was going to happen. I think he planned it like Ashlyn said, because all those Oompa Loompas, they knew exactly what song to sing, and
that is a good point.
over that. But they were trained. They had outfits, choreography,
Like you
background
said,
music.
they've got to tone down the horror aspect in these children's films just a little bit.
I mean, I always thought the songs made it scarier, but
Yeah, I'm saying the fact that they walk out alive.
yeah, if you didn't see them at the end, though, I would have assumed that something horrible had happened to them. The one girl, like in like the squirrel scene,
That's a weird scene.
yeah, because she's going to the incinerator. But
True. Yeah, that is a good point. That is a good point. I bet online somewhere, like Reddit, there's probably some thread about Willy Wonka. Like,
oh, I've seen it all over YouTube. Like researching for tonight, there's like tons of theories of his broken psychology. Like,
oh yeah.
the following actually. I've even seen a guy who cosplays as Willy Wonka.
Wow. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah. So, all right. Well, we should probably wrap up this segment, but tweet us what your favorite. I know that we're not doing this live, so you're gonna have to do this but after the fact. But the show should be up pretty soon after we finish it. So, if you have any other movies you want to add to the list, movies that maybe you watched as a child, creeped you out, you never really got over it. Maybe you did, but maybe like deep down you didn't. It's like, tweet us what those films are. Because yeah, I'm sure there's more than what we talked about, but yeah, Monster House definitely that's the one for me.
Yeah, I looked it up. Surprisingly, has a 75% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
You're kidding.
I'm not.
That's shocking to me. I'm gonna go give it a 2-star rating. 1 star. 1 star. I'm gonna do it right now because I hate that movie. I don't think any I don't think any child should be watching Monster House.
Remove it from your queue, parents.
2006.
Mm.
Yeah, it's bad. Bad. 1 star. All right, there we go. Shoot. So, all right, well, we're going to take a short break and then we'll be back with our main topic of the night. And yeah, so stay tuned. All right, and we are back. Short break there, but we're back. This is the Mark and Mike show. I don't remember what the radio station was, but we're not on
What
with
our
the radio
call
station.
numbers are? Yeah, who knows at this
I don't know,
point.
but we do have the Twitter. If you want to check us out on Twitter, you know, we haven't put a lot of content up lately, but if we get a lot of you know, response to this show, I'll bring back the Twitter. Maybe we can even do a daily tweet. It's not that hard. I have a lot of time these days, so you know, if we
In
get,
the
let's say,
comments,
yeah,
yeah, put in the comments of this video if you want us to put out our daily piece of unpopular opinion, the unpopular opinion of the day.
yeah, you know, that's a great idea. So if this video gets at least, we got to get at least like 15 views for that to happen. So make it happen. I know that's not a lot. That's a embarrassingly low number, but you know, we're not.
I'm sure it's possible with the degree of dedication in our fans. I'm sure we can get to that 15.
I agree, and you know, we're not asking a lot here, so you know, we'll see what happens. But with that, we're going to transition to a little bit more of a just like a little bit of a deeper discussion here, like we normally do. And so I had seen this article about it's titled "Breaking Free from the Tyranny of the Loudest," and I think this is a really interesting topic, especially right now, because we're limited so much with face-to-face interaction. There's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of what seems like really angry social media, and even just, you know, news media too. It's like every time I look at the news, it's like it's angry. It's not. There's no there isn't a lot of positives, and sometimes it's kind of depressing to look at the news or just scroll on Twitter, and it's like a lot of it, it's like you have your funny stuff, but then you also have like people who are just seem really upset about whatever issue, and their tweet with their opinion has 100,000 retweets or whatever comments, replies. And so yeah, we saw this article. And basically, the article is just talking about how the way that people interact on social media doesn't necessarily portray the majority, and it doesn't necessarily portray how people actually feel. For example, you know, you'll have people that react to a tweet, to an opinion, with like that they come down with the hammer, you know, and there's a lot of people that will see that and not react. It's more of a moderate response or something like that. But it leads us to believe that everyone either is on one side or the complete extreme, and there isn't a lot of people in the middle. And I think that's a bit of an issue, because it makes us think that you can't really talk to people about any deeper issues, anything deeper than and honestly, you just don't even want to share your opinion half the time because of how people react. And I think especially with social media, things get blown out of proportion. So, you know, let's say one person has whatever opinion, you know, there's all kinds of stuff going on, and it could be about coronavirus or whatever. That's just an example, but let's say they have a certain opinion that they hold about it. It's like, just because that's their opinion doesn't mean we have to destroy them if we think it's wrong. And I think I think there's a big problem with that, with social media and how things get blown out of proportion really easily. And it's like, even if that person's opinion isn't even the majority or the most popular or even factual at all, it's this tyranny of the loudest. Whoever says it loudly, whoever gets people upset, it's now they have the power. So yeah, Mike, if you have any thoughts about that.
Yeah, well, it just reminds me of, I don't know if you have seen it, but there's this meme with like this small little bird, and then there's a crow next to it. And the bird will be like saying something factual, like in a little speech bubble. And then all of a sudden the crow will come in, and there's this enormous, like, spiky speech bubble that's blotting out whatever the bird is like saying. And it's like,
Yeah.
something panic inducing and really like full of emotion, and the little bird's just like pissed off. But anyway, yeah, it's I think one thing that was eye-opening about the article was that it said that really it's only like 2 to 3% of people who will see a post or watch a video. It's only 2 to 3% of people who are posting, or maybe even like liking it or disliking it for that.
Yeah, just reacting at all. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And that's the thing. One of the things the article talked about was it's measuring like basic emotional responses. There's only so many buttons that they provide, and it's only measuring those responses. And in all honesty, being a complex human being with rational thought as well as emotions, there can be a whole range of thoughts, opinions, emotions tied into that just can't be encapsulated by a little smiley face, or like, oh, I'm gonna give this a thumbs down.
Yeah, thumbs up or thumbs down. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so it really makes all issues either black or white, when maybe necessarily, no, in this area you have to have these considerations, and you're only like, you get the tip of the iceberg when you look at especially comment sections. I've seen it a lot, public stories on Instagram. You don't get a whole lot of depth of information, but you get the biggest, ugliest, and it really is just loudest information.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think a part of the issue there is people, they kind of, once they see all this information coming at them, and it's like, oh wow, so this is the way most people must think, or most people must feel about this, because these people are being so loud, so I don't know, so you could even say a little bit obnoxious about how they feel about whatever it is, whatever it might be. And that's, I don't know, it just gives you a skewed sense of what like popular opinion is. And I know like popular opinion isn't necessarily the most important thing, but it definitely plays a role in how we think, or what we think is important. And especially, I think we've seen it with coronavirus. I mean, I hate to bring it up, but it is a good example. It's like, certain people think a certain way, one end of the spectrum or another. And it's like, in reality, like, a lot of people are probably kind of down the middle. They're not extreme on either end. And that's not really what's portrayed. It's either you are 100% spooked by coronavirus, or you think it's a myth. It's like, you can't go outside your house without a hazmat suit, or you believe that it's a conspiracy theory. And like that's the stuff that gets there. That's the stuff that's being the loudest, and that's just not what is reality.
Yeah,
So
I
it really,
agree.
and I don't know, it really skews reality. But I think one thing that I really, really liked it. It was very end of the article. It just said, you know, it would be nice to bring quiet, sober discourse back into public information exchanges. I think that sums it up well. To
Yeah.
just see articles in the news, honestly, without a clickbait title, without, without the word like, you know,
Breaking news. It's always breaking news.
it's like
Breaking
so and
news. This
so,
news conference in 6 hours.
yeah, and it's like, oh, well, so and so slams somebody else. So like this thing is like going crazy. It's like you
I
have to
saw on the
see
news
that.
something like Mark Zuckerberg wears too much sunscreen at beach or something. And what kind of like that's not really news.
Yeah, like that's not what we're about here. And so I don't know. I think it's a really good point though, and something that our generation really has to think about. Because think about all the people that they don't really look at the news necessarily, and even if they do, the news is maybe a little bit trying to play that hype game. But a lot of people don't look at that. They probably just look at Twitter and Instagram to gauge public opinion about whatever it might be, and that's a little scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
think I think the problem with maybe like news media especially, I think if you watch a lot of it, I think it almost conditions you um to like need the next emergency for that like emotional high, because the news wherever you get it from is very emotionally charged, and they're only showing the bad stuff, right? They're only showing the emergencies, the floods, the like the whatever that's going wrong in the world, and maybe they'll have like a
yeah,
story on in the last 5 minutes. um, so I almost think it's conditioning people to think more negatively and pessimistically, um, because they're just waiting for the next emergency, and it all comes back to like what you're feeding yourself with, like just how you feed your body, you feed your brain. um, so like if you're feeding information that's um, overly sensational, um, then yeah, you're gonna start getting used to consuming. But another thing with like Twitter, Instagram, like uh, I've seen it with Snapchat sometimes. It's a very linear conversation, and everyone's always replying to just what's immediately above them, especially in like comment sections or whatever. And
right.
the issue as a whole isn't considered. It's like, let me do a quick response to what this comment was, a quick jab at this. Um, and it's, I don't think it, I think it's more like kind of an instant gratification. I know everything that's going on about this issue. So um, I'm not gonna like, you know, do research or whatever, or look at what other people are saying about it. I'm just going to quickly respond to what was just in front of me.
Yeah, yeah. And I think honestly, it's interesting issue to consider, but it's like, what? So okay, so like, what do we, how do we kind of help ourselves to not fall into that sensationalism and that, how do we still look at the news or still like consume information, consume whatever it might be, content, and that not affect us super negatively. And I think a good way to do that is, first of all, it's like you kind of have to be a little skeptical. You know, it's like I tell my little brother, it's like you can't believe everything that you see in the article or you watch in a video. So you gotta like take a step back and like gain that perspective and just like have some perspective on the issue, especially if it's like an issue and not just like a series of facts. If it's like you found this article somewhere and it's really trying to push whatever story. So it's like that perspective is really good. But I think another thing too is like, honestly, yeah, it probably just takes a little bit of detachment. Like you're saying, we feed ourselves. What we feed ourselves is kind of how we're shaped to think. And so if we're always shaped to think like, oh, what's the next bad thing that's happening? Like, oh, well, that makes me think the world must be terrible, and we should just, like, this is almost getting to the point where it's like, I can't handle this, and it's like, so I think we have to detach ourselves a little bit, because there's too, like you're saying, there's so much negative stuff, and no one can just endure that. It's like, you need some positives, and you need that perspective, you need that like space, you need that distance to be able to live your life and realize like a lot of this stuff doesn't really affect me. It's like, oh, that really, it is really sad if, like, let's say there's a flood in Louisiana, that's really sad, but like in the grand scheme of things, like that doesn't really affect me. So it's like just gaining that a little bit of perspective, that little bit of space, like, you know throw some prayers out for those people, that's great, but you have to realize like your circle of influence and things outside of your control. If we spend so much time and effort thinking about that, it just wears on you so much. And I feel like that's what this tyranny of the loudest is. It's like the loudest person just, they just bulldoze everything else. And it's like, we can't have that. We can't have like a discussion that we're having now where it's like just civil. It's like, it has to be charged. It has to be me versus you. And I don't know, you're just gaining a little bit of space, like, helps you to not be so emotional. And I don't know, I think that can be a really good thing. So
Yeah, I thought it was interesting what you said about control, because I think that goes back to, have you heard the Serenity Prayer?
right.
Yeah, it's like, God, give me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And the third one is really key, right? Because you gotta
Yes.
okay, what can I do in this moment? What am I called to do in this moment? And is there a real tangible step that I can take to better the situation? And sometimes it can be a little unclear, like what that next step is. So maybe, yeah, you do need to wait and see, or maybe you need to learn some more information about whatever's going on before you take action. But I think a lot of people just think, oh, I need to make a difference right this second. Like, you may not be prepared for it, like prepared for what you have to do yet. So, I had a friend recently who, with all the riots recently that have been on, and even just like the protests and about some horrible actions that have happened in the country. Because, certain acts of racism have been like really like awful. But anyway, this one friend, he wanted to show support for the Black Lives Matter movement, right? So he posted something on Instagram or whatever, and then in his comments, people accused him, "Oh, you're really showing your white privilege here." And the problem was, if he, let's say he had decided, "Oh, well, I don't support everything that the Black Lives Matter group is saying, so I'm gonna speak out against these aspects." Well, in the sensationalist culture, it's like, oh, well, if you don't support us wholeheartedly, then we're gonna label you as this category. Maybe it'd be like racist, or like homophobe, something like that.
Right.
Then there's also the mindset out there, oh, if you're doing nothing, you're part of the problem. So it seems like a lose-lose-lose situation, right?
Yeah.
But really, I think that waiting and listening is very important, especially when it's a complex issue. Like I said, human beings like have like numerous thoughts and feelings about a complex subject just because we have complex brains, we have complex feelings. It's not so clear cut all the time, but social media makes it seem like that sometimes. What do you think?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think it's Stephen Covey in his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. One of them is seek first to understand, then to be understood. And that's a great point, because it's like, if we just try to, it's like, oh, there's this issue, I gotta say something, or else I'm gonna be labeled as this. And it's like, no, because if that issue hasn't affected you in your life, then you need to stop and you need to listen and see what's going on, because you don't know what's going, like, you don't know. And it's silly. And to have people accuse you one way or the other when you don't really understand is not really fair. And it kind of goes against that idea that it's like, you know um just being able to listen, I think, is really important. And there can be a lot of pressure to do something right away, but ultimately you can't just pretend that you know what's going on, pretend that you understand someone else's perspective without giving them a chance to listen. And you know that that can be tough when everything's getting blown out of proportion, and people are getting really upset. But I think if our culture as a whole did that more, then we wouldn't have people getting as angry. Because I think someone not listening to you has to be one of the most frustrating things. And especially
Right.
if you're already like a little like ticked off, then it's just going to set you over the edge. So yeah, I think, and I think this is something that we can bring to it's like, we talk about doing something, changing, but this is something that we can do with our families, with our friends. It's like, we need to listen to people, and that's so important. That's probably one of the most important things that we can do. And that's something that we can do tomorrow, is just, okay, I'm going to start trying to listen to people. I'm going to look them in the eyes and just let them talk and ask questions when I need to. And because if we can do that, if we can start to do that, and on a bigger scale beyond just ourselves, like that can make a big change. And I'm not saying that I understand the whole issue of racism, but I think listening is a really good step for everyone in a lot of different issues. It can be a great thing. So yeah, I think this is a great discussion, Mike. I'm really glad that we were able to talk about this, especially because, there's so much going on right now, and people are getting really heated in a lot of different ways. So,
And it's not helping too that everyone's, well, I say everyone, I'm not sure if it's a lot, most people are just stuck in their houses, can't really.
Exactly.
There's the added stress of having the pandemic, maybe family members are sick, stuff like that. So it's kind of a subconscious emotional weight everyone's carrying too, and it just piles on top of everything else. So
I agree. Yeah. So, I think takeaways from this, let that circle of influence really sink in and give you some perspective, and that distance from a lot of the issues can help you be a little bit less emotional. And listening is so important, and honestly, listening is sort of a lost art. we use Twitter, we use Instagram. You don't have to read. You don't have to listen. You just scroll it over. You scroll over. You don't like how many articles do we look at the title but not read? And it's like if we just start to work on that, I think that's something that can shift the culture a little bit. And it's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be easy, but it's nonetheless important. So yeah, we'll let's wrap up this segment, and then we'll come back with our final segment. Bring it back on a little bit of a lighthearted note. We got something that should be pretty funny. So yeah.
You're listening to the Mark and Mike Show.
All right, welcome back for the final segment of the summer edition, Mark and Mike Show. The first of hopefully what will be a long and very interesting road for the continuation of the Mark and Mike Show. But we have our final segment coming up, and honestly, I think something that we were kind of all forced into, some willingly, some not so willingly, it's homeschooling. You know, we had no choice. And the three of us, Mike, Ashlin, and I, we were never homeschooled. We were always in normal schools, and we turned out the way we did because of that. No offense to any homeschoolers out there. But here's the thing. We were all homeschoolers for a semester, half a semester, not even the full semester. And we would like to share some of our experiences of that with you. Because I think it's pretty relatable. Everyone had to do it, but you know, you have your people who were homeschooled before. They're always talking about it, talking it up. So, you know, without further ado, let's just kick off this discussion. I'll kick it off by saying, first day of homeschooling, day one. It's me, two of my sisters, and my younger brother, and my other brother was working from home as well. Day one, my sister, she's in 7th grade going into 8th grade. She's like, well, we're all homeschool losers now. And that really kicked it off for us. I was like, oh, this is sinking in now. Here we go. So, all right. Any thoughts or feelings on that, either of you guys?
Yeah,
So
the moment,
go ahead, Ashley.
the moment it really hit home for me, I was sitting at my kitchen table, looking out our like patio door, and we had the screen, so I could see outside, I could hear outside, and it's my whole family sitting on our patio. They're laughing, they're playing games, and I'm holding back the tears. Just trying to do school while the rest of my family is enjoying themselves. No, it wasn't that bad, but honestly, my experience, did either of you play Webkins?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Yeah, we talked about it on one of the previous episodes.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, of course, sorry. My experience was, I would say, pretty similar to like Webkins Doctor. Because I had clinicals online, so we had to have a fake patient and take care of the fake patient using fake information, and it felt like a computer game, but
okay, so you basically turned into like Doc McStuffins, basically.
Exactly, that is exactly who I am now.
Okay, that, I'm not gonna lie, that sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, loads of fun.
How'd it go for you, Mike?
Well, I just wanted to put in a quick comment because my brother, he's going to college this year. He was a senior in high school this past year. So he graduated. He's going to Clemson.
Nice.
All the homeschooling stuff going on right now. He had his orientation for college online. And as part of orientation, your medical simulations kind of reminded me of this, but as part of the orientation process, you have to go through the student life, whatever, like the handbook. And as part of the student life handbook, they have information on levels of alcohol consumption and
Hmm.
how much beer, wine, or whiskey or hard liquor can you have, and that qualifies as one serving. So they actually had an interactive for that, and and it was like, click here to pour the wine into the glass. Click here to pour the beer. The problem was, as with, I'm sure many people have experienced during these past 6 months, is there was some technical difficulties with this that would not
Has to be.
to stop pouring the beer in the simulation. So, the simulation was very gracious about it, but and it was like, sometimes it's easy for your hand to slip and pour a bit too much. But I just thought that was interesting because, I mean, homeschooling, it's not even just school anymore. It's home working,
Yeah.
home, I guess, chatting with friends, family. And yeah, it's kind of crazy. In my experience, I was actually very grateful to at the beginning of the homeschooling period. So like the weeks leading up before COVID struck, I mean, those were tough weeks. That was midterms for us.
Dark days.
Yeah, dark days. Midterms, if you don't know this, if you don't go to Franciscan, maybe it's like this at other schools. Midterms isn't like a week, it's a season. It lasts like 2 months. Everyone's stressed all the time. It's nuts. But
And it's dark outside. It's cold. It's February,
yeah, and
March-ish. I don't know when it exactly is.
it's wild. For me, I always see midterms as more stressful than finals just because I know I'm only halfway. But anyway, so we just got through midterms and we hit spring break. I was going on a mission trip to California over spring break. Not a lot of time to relax. So I don't know. It was kind of nice to be able to go home, see my family. There was kind of an extra week there where no one was really sure what we were going to be doing yet. So it was kind of like, oh,
True.
part two. And I gotta say, once the classes started up, I was very poor at the homeschooling art. I would not show up to my online classes. I would sleep through them. I was like, they're being recorded. I don't need to. And mind you, this was like a 10 a.m. class, and I was still in bed. But so it was obviously much easier for me to be able to get to my computer and pull it up and go to class. But the motivation, that was the hardest part. Motivation was not there.
Yeah, I agree. I think doing school online, it was a challenge. It definitely gave me more time to do stuff, but like you're saying, motivation, oh my gosh. No, it wasn't
I will
there.
say one of the upsides of homeschooling is the 24-hour kitchen access. I approve 100%. That's a yes from me. Yeah. And oftentimes it would be, 3 a.m. I have to finish this thing by 8 a.m. the next day because I didn't do it the past 3 weeks. But you know what? It worked out. I passed my classes. Praise God.
So here's my question for both of you, really, because I'm not really one to pull all-nighters, but did you pull more all-nighters while we were at school or while you're at home? Because I know that procrastination level definitely went up at home, but it's like, did that lead you to more time to do stuff?
It was definitely at home. Like I definitely
Really?
much more all-nighters at home than at school. Yeah, I was really bad. There was at least 4, maybe 5 times I pulled an all-nighter. Like it was
That sounds horrible. I just want you to know that to me, like staying up all night is just terrible. I can't. I can't.
What's
I just,
weird about it is after
I
you
would,
do it the first time, the hours just fly by the next time you do it. It's like,
It's so true.
Ashlyn, can you attest?
Yeah, for me, I pulled probably a record-breaking amount of all-nighters when we were on campus. I would say an unhealthy amount, but I'm fine. So
It's fine. I'm
it was
fine.
it
Everything's fine.
was pretty much every Thursday night. But once I was home, I found myself doing school like from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed. Whereas when I'm on campus, that's not necessarily what I'm doing. We have track practice. I'm, going to nursing home on the weekends. We have more activities, more social things. Whereas when I was home, I was pretty much on my laptop doing school from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed. And so it was less necessary for me to pull all-nighters because I was so much more focused during the day. Whereas when I was at school, I was more focused during the night because there wasn't anything else going on. So it was necessary to pull all-nighters on campus. But at home, I can't really remember if I pulled a true all-nighter. So, yeah.
I'm not
Props to
gonna
you,
lie.
Ashlyn. The
Yeah,
self-discipline.
yeah, that's impressive. Either way, it sounds horrible. Staying up all night or working the entire day. I'm not gonna lie. There were a couple days where I had to work like the full day, and I did not enjoy that. It's like when I was at school, it was so much easier to just, I work a little bit and then I goof off for a little bit. But at home, it's like there's nothing else to do. I just have to sit here and finish this, and it's like I could see the end was in sight for me. Finishing up my degree too, so it was like, oh man, I just gotta grind this out. It was tough. It was
No
tough.
arc lab though.
No arc lab. Great story about the arc lab though. You're supposed to do the archaeology lab, right? So you're supposed to go in there for, I believe it's 35 to 45 hours the semester. Yeah, I didn't go in until the week before spring break. So like I was behind. It wasn't going to be horrible. It's a pass
Five
fail
hours
class.
logged. 5 hours logged.
I did do a 4 hour section, and I did do a 1 hour little I'm gonna call it a meet and greet with the professor. But here's the deal. What we ended up having to do, this is so clutch. I just ended up having to write like a 3-page paper, and half the paper was just a list of artifacts that were metal. It's like you pick a category and you just write about artifact. You just made a list of artifacts. So I just had to look up stuff that was metal and just write it down. And then he emailed me back, right? Like 5 minutes after I sent it to him. And he said it was great work. So, if you're looking for that 3
That
credits,
positive affirmation.
oh, it's like I put in about, what you would expect for that level of paper. And I got the result I was looking for. So it was great. And, that nice pat on the back too. It felt great. I was pretty happy about that. So,
I
yeah,
gotta
that was
say,
it.
one of the best parts about homeschooling, online labs, so much easier than in-person labs.
I can imagine. Yeah. I never
Normally it's
had a
4 hours.
lab.
Like,
Oof.
yeah, and I mean, at home, the teachers would send us a 20-minute video, watch us do this experiment over a timeline, fill out this worksheet, you're done. It was
Easy money.
easy money.
Probably one of the most enjoyable parts of online homeschooling is double speed. You can watch any of your lectures in half the amount of time and it would normally take. Life-changing, honestly, life-changing.
Yeah, that is really nice. So, okay, here's a question for you though. And honestly, this is probably the most important question is, do you wish that you were homeschooled before this forced homeschooling?
I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't that horrible. But no, I would, I didn't enjoy it that much. I'll just say that.
Mike, what do you think about that?
I definitely think you have to be very disciplined to homeschool. You have to develop skills that you wouldn't normally expect, like with video conferencing and like learning how to present over Zoom or any
Yeah.
other media. I'd say I was very bad at it. Like I'm doing an online internship. Like I was very bad at it at the beginning, and I kind of had to learn as I went. I'd say you could get used to anything as long as you kept it up. I will say though, I think it makes having that social connection and other things to do a little bit harder. Because even though you see people on the screen, you're still missing a lot when you're not meeting up in person. And not to say that homeschoolers don't leave their house, but
Yeah.
like Ashlin said, it's just like there's stuff going on when you're on campus around people. For better or for worse, if it ends up leading to an all-nighter. But I mean, at least that way, there's some social interaction you're picking up social cues. There's, I don't know, like, because if you're just looking at people on a screen, you're missing a lot of body language.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a challenge. For me, I did not enjoy it. I definitely liked having more time to do things, because I was completely devoid of all social interactions. But that's obviously that's like not what homeschooling is normally like. At least I hope not for most people.
It
They
does make it easier if you have a sibling or siblings around your age.
Oh my gosh. I mean, my siblings, none of them are in college right now, but or none of them were doing college. So it's like but just the fact that they also had to sit there and endure the torture that I was also enduring made it a little easier. It's like you kind of bonded over that. Um but yeah, it was a challenge for me because I think um I liked going into class, and even though in class we'd goof around a lot in some of my classes, I kind of missed that part. And I think it was nice. It was nice because I had more time to do things, but it was also terrible because I didn't I didn't I just had to sit there and look at my computer, and it just made it really lame. Like I didn't feel like I was learning. I just was kind of like, okay, here we go. Just got to get this done. I kind of, it took the joy out of it for me, I think, a little bit. So, but here's the thing. I've been working from home pretty much since school ended. And I feel pretty similar. I don't know. I think I like working from home only slightly better because um, having time to work and like being given tasks is a lot easier than trying to learn. Trying to learn from home
Mhm.
was hard because even when you get on a Zoom call, it's like you don't feel like you have to pay attention. Even if your camera's on, I don't know. It's just something about like you're in your house, just not doing anything, just sitting there listening. It's like there's just something like deep inside me that just didn't want to have to focus on this. So, it was a challenge, but got through it. I mean, in the Boric household, there were only a handful of tears shed due to homeschooling. So most of them were not mine. So it's fine. I'm kidding. No, my siblings, some of my siblings, especially my little brother, he did have some tears shed, but you know he got through it. So I think it would be harder. Actually, it would be a lot harder for younger kids because that like teacher student interaction is so important. But he got through it.
Plus, when you're a kid, you get recess at school.
True, and you get to be with your friends, and that's like the best part of being in fourth grade.
Yeah.
You know, none of this like the homework. Basically, it's like you don't get homework normally. Like he doesn't really get homework, but now it's all homework, and so that just stinks. Like that's the worst. So
Right.
we're like, what homework? I'm in 4th grade. There should be no homework. So
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah.
The way the
So
public schools work around here is that basically, if you were a senior, like my brother was, a senior in high school, and basically he was done with school in March. Like he didn't
what?
have to do anything.
No way.
They put
I'm
out
not gonna.
optional assignments, and that was
I mean, my high school was really chill senior spring. I'm not gonna lie. Like we go to school 3 days a week, but the thing is, you know, if
there
you
was
maintain that A average for 3rd and 4th quarter, you also got to skip the final. Um, so it's like that you had something to play for. You know, it's not like you just shut it down because you're going to school 3 days a week. Like you gotta go. You gotta grind it out to the end to get that A average, get out of the finals.
and yeah, normally that's how my brother would approach his school. It'd be like, yeah, what can I do to get that 90? You know, get that A. And then all the tryhards are over here like, I got to get the 99, and that was me, like, to be honest. But no, he played it smart. So when he heard assignments were optional, he knew what direction things were heading, and he wasn't about to do anything. And he
Nah,
was
at that point
got his
you
cap and gown.
the word optional gets tossed in front of assignment, you punt. You don't try to go for it. No. There's no point. So yeah, so I don't know if anyone else who eventually listens to it, if you make it to this far in the video, I'm gonna be honestly pretty impressed. So if you make it through this ramble on
15
homeschooling,
views.
if we get 15 views, I'm gonna be really happy. But we'll bring back. We'll really fire up the Twitter. Um, and if you have any other interesting, funny thoughts, facts about homeschooling, if you were homeschooled, I know some of us were. One of our special guests, Liam Galligan, was homeschooled, so he's gonna be happy if he makes it to the end of the video about the shout out. But
Yeah.
if you have anything you want to say about homeschooling, let us know on the Twitter. It's the Mark Mike Show on Twitter. And so, yeah, with that, we're
And
going to
we
wrap up.
want a good holistic discussion in our Twitter comments.
Yeah, none of this, I don't know.
We don't
Well,
want any what's the word?
Cancel culture. None of that.
We don't want cancel culture. No, we don't. And
yeah, so go ahead, Mike.
okay. We want a healthy discussion. What was it? We want something that is. Hold on, I got this. We want quiet, sober discourse in our Twitter comments. So if y'all think you can do that, awesome. Let's do it.
So yeah, feel free to share your love or hate in a kind manner
In a
via the
quiet, sober
Twitter
way.
on homeschooling, on Coraline. If you have a strong opinion about one of the movies, definitely let us know. If you like any of those movies, I'd be really interested to know, because here's the deal. I don't really like any of them. I think they're all kind of creepy. So if you don't think that, I would be interested to hear reasoning behind that. So
Mm-hmm.
with that, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you for listening to the Mark and Mike Show. This is the return. We're happy to get back at it. So with
Awesome.
that, yeah.
Let's
So
wrap up with a glory be in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. All glory be to the Father, and to the Son,
Son of the Holy Spirit,
as it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever. Amen.
Amen. All right, and with that, we're gonna sign off. Thank you. If you made it to the end, you're a real one.
Yes. God bless the viewers of the Mark Mike Show. And thanks again, Ashlin.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a good night, y'all.